Ba-da-ba-da-ba-ba. We are live again, everyone. Everything Teams Phone Live, episode 36. And episode 36 is an amazing show because we have the one, the only Tom Arbuthnot joining us today to talk about everything new that's going on with Microsoft Teams. And Tom, man, there's a ton to talk about.
There is a lot to talk about. It's crazy because normally we're ramping up to Ignite, so normally it starts to chill out on the news, but Microsoft just keep dropping more and more news. There's Copilot stuff, there's shared calling, there's Teams Phone Mobile. There's a lot going on.
Oh, and those are all like huge topics. These are not little things to talk about. These aren't little feature updates. These are massive, not shifts, but just massive improvements to the overall sort of Microsoft ecosystems or, solution. So it's pretty crazy.
I was going to say, and hot off the press, I just got a survey about how, Microsoft wants to, they're surveying the ecosystem to see how they want to prioritize SMS and MMS now. So like there's even more stuff that's like that tidal wave's just crashing.
I just completed that survey, Brandon. Did you do that survey as well?
I did the survey.
All right.
I set my blood sample in and like
exactly. All right, everyone. Well, listen, we've had Tom on the show before. He is Mr. Teams, and probably there's no one else either A, more connected or B, more knowledgeable about all the Microsoft Teams stuff that goes on. It is a massive amount of information that he's got with us. He runs a platform called empowering.cloud. And Tom, why don't you take a moment to plug empowering.cloud, because we think it is so important for everyone to be well-informed, well-educated in the ecosystem. I think it'd be great if you give us your elevator pitch, if you will, for Empowering Cloud.
Yeah, sure. Appreciate it, and appreciate you guys supporting that as well. So we're building a community there. So we have about 3,500 people now, which is pretty pleased with in the last kind of 18 months. And we built a platform. MVP Tom Morgan's built the platform. So the idea is to bring together kind of 15-minute or less briefings from subject matter experts, bring together research, bring together content, and have a really good way for people to get educated on everything Microsoft Teams and the ecosystem. So not just the Microsoft part of the story, but the call recording, the contact center, the compliance, the devices, Operator Connect, all that stuff, covering all the key topics. And there's a chance there to interact with the SMEs as well. So like every time somebody does a briefing, you can ask questions afterwards. And then we have community events, we have fireside chat, we have Microsoft Teams devices, ask us anything. So yeah, just bringing people together. And for those that need it, we have a premium option called enablement, where we do learning paths and quizzes and office hours and all that good stuff.
That's awesome. I appreciate the overview, because I tell you, when we were first getting into the ecosystem, into the environment, you guys served as a really good sort of backstop for us to go understand what we were getting into, right? That was the first place I went, was empowering.cloud, and the 15-minute briefings for someone like me was just really important to walk through, important pieces of the puzzle, and to have someone that's an expert walk through it in 15 minutes and show everything on video. The documentation's out there for all of these components, right? Microsoft does a nice job of documenting everything, but really having someone do a video on it is just really helpful. And for them to be the expert in the space, it's good stuff.
I appreciate that. I'll tell you what we're doing now, which is exciting. We've got all of the, so we're up to about 150 videos now. We've indexed all the content with Azure OpenAI, and we're not quite ready to release it yet, but we're playing around with, you can ask questions of the content, it will give you the answer, but it'll also reference the video it came from. So as we build out the content, because we found that obviously there's a bunch of people that have loved watching the videos, but there's a bunch of people that just want the answer. So they can have that answer from that kind of known good source, which so still baking, but pretty excited about it.
That's awesome. Okay, well, we got a couple of things to clean up really quick. We got some housekeeping. Tom, we want to give everyone a chance to do to win something. Brandon, why don't you announce what's going on with the? We do this weekly drawing, and Brandon announces what someone needs to do in order to win something special.
And I need to start having the device in my hand, because I rely on you. Like, you've got it out of view. I'm like, I don't know if it's the same headset again today, but like, I'm giving away. Yeah, giving away. Oh, there you go.
Oh,
Mr.
Oh, look at that. Touche.
Wait, did Garcia ship that to you?
Exactly. There you go.
Because if he did, check for earwax. Anywho, we are giving away a BH71 headset. I think it's a 71. I can't see it in your screen.
71
but
Pro.
BH71 Pro from Yealink. Nifty little headset. All you got to do is ask a question that stumps us, brings interesting conversation to the podcast, or just overall good observation, and we'll select one of you to be the lucky winner.
Well, for those of you, and I think our last week's winner was saying that his Voyager had just died, and so for those of you used to over the ear and single sort of hook on, this is a fantastic headset. It works really well. I use it when I'm traveling. In fact, the other day I actually had like 4 different headsets with me, and I went through these massive Shores, and I went through my AirPods, and I tried to, and then I ended up on these because they were loud. It was a loud earpiece. It was light, easy for me to be on a couple of long calls, and there was no degradation in my voice. People heard me loud and clear, and the battery life is really, really long. So this was a nice BH71 Pro by Yealink. It's a really nice headset. So if you ask us a cool question, this could be yours. Oh, look at this.
Questions.
There you go. This could be pretty cool. Look at this. It's just this is a charging base, and you just kind of set it down and you can charge it. So I keep this in my backpack, and it's my on-the-go headset. So
yeah, rumor is when you travel with that, you also put your hip holster on for your phone. So you kind of go back to that early 2000s look, right? You got the
flip phone on the belt.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, with walkie-talkie feature for Teams, I made a comment on LinkedIn the other day, sponsored by Nextel or something like that, right? Because I had the silver clipped, flip phone, Tom. It was a nice phone. I had it for a long time. So yes, but no, I don't have the rotating clip holster. I think I missed that age generation by about 10 years. But hey, you never know. I age every year.
It might come back.
Okay, so let's. So Tom, no introduction needed. We did give you a big introduction, but there's a lot to talk about that's going on with Microsoft Teams. A couple of things that are in GA you can walk us through, but really, I'm excited about Copilot. $30 a user, GA now. People can pick it up. We've had discussions on whether it's worth it or not for $30. Everyone breaks it down for 71 cents a day or for a cup of coffee a day. What are your thoughts on Copilot? Have you used it? We just got access to it. Was it last week, Brandon? I think last week.
Yep.
So it's pretty interesting. Have you been using it, Tom?
Yeah. So there's different phases of it. So the stuff you've got now is the kind of a big enterprise chat type Copilot where you can ask questions, and then 1st November comes the office stuff where you can do it into Teams and Word and Excel and whatever. I've used some of the Bing chat stuff. I haven't yet got access to the team stuff, although I have got a couple of customers that are using it, so I've got a bit of an idea about what's going on. And I'm excited about it. We're definitely like at the peak of the AI hype cycle at the moment, right? So everybody's like either it's going to destroy the world or it's going to change the world or somewhere in between.
Well, let me, Tom, I don't know if you watched our show last week, but the use case scenario that I found myself stumbled into with the chat feature was actually in Dynamics 365, where not Dynamics 365. It was in the virtual agent setup. I was setting up my virtual chatbot agent, and all of a sudden Copilot shows up, and I'm like, oh, this, like, one day it wasn't there, next day all of a sudden Copilot's there. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. So I tell Copilot, this is what I want my chatbot to do, right? I had a normal conversation with Copilot, and this thing spits out a chatbot or a virtual agent chatbot for me, and I catered it to Garcia, and I sent it over to him. I'm like, check this out. It's really cool. It took me 30 seconds to make this chatbot.
I think I need to show that. I think I need to show it, Brandon. I think I need to show what that looks like. Do you still have that, Brandon?
That's out there somewhere, yeah.
Yeah, it'll do PowerShell as well. It'll do all sorts. So from a coding perspective, it's really interesting. Actually, one of Microsoft announced a few weeks ago, one of their commitments, they have a copyright commitment. So if you generate code or generate content from Copilot, they'll cover you as like that it's not copyrighted content, basically. So that was a big concern around coding, is like, if you get it to generate code, could someone theoretically say, well, that was my code the bot generated? So they've made a big commitment on the copyright front, saying no, absolutely, you could go and create code out of Copilot, produce a product, and that's your code. Oh, this is cool. You got it live. Nice.
I'm help you place your order. For tax purposes, what state does your business? Let's say Washington. Let's see here. So here's, and this, Brandon, this is what you were saying, right? Was as you just had Copilot build this for you, yeah? What are you interesting? Oh, look at that. Teams phone, of course. Great. Can I help you with that? How many users and seats do you need? 275. Look at that. That's pretty cool.
It is cool. I think contact center, actually, and that kind of whatever you want to call it, because it's chat, it's omni-channel, but like that's the first place AI is going to have a huge impact. Because like, imagine if you rang a contact center but there wasn't any ringing, it was just instant answer, how can I help you? And even if it could do the basics of like, where's my order, like how long have I got to wait, what are your opening hours, those kind of things, that'd be a huge like both an improved end user experience and saving in terms of effort and cost and staff and things. So I think it's that's one of the spaces where I think it's going to be the biggest AI.
Really big.
And I think it brings that true intelligent routing then, whether it starts as chat or it starts as voice, doesn't matter what the medium is where it starts. You can really start to do true intelligent routing, where now I do all my data gathering, like what Rick was just showing. Maybe it's you initially place the order, but now it gets to, hey, you need a contract. But now I can create that logic to say, all right, now I'm taking all this information and I'm going to go out either and generate the contract, or I'm going to send you off to a sales agent to talk to.
So I was engaged. I mean, we had Blair Pleasant on the call last week. Brandon, your video is frozen, by the way. We had Blair Pleasant on the call last week. And that was pretty interesting because we did talk about, OpenAI, Copilot in the customer service arena.
Yeah.
And I was privileged to an AI platform, I want to say about 1.5 years, maybe even 2 years ago, maybe 1.5 years ago, where they built a solution that was full on, conversational, and it would take appointments for a dental organization. So they had this massive dental organization. And it was, you just basically conversation. You just started talking. I need to set up an appointment, or I'm looking to see what you guys have available. And okay, great. Well, let me help you with that. And just kind of went through this process of scheduling an appointment. And when you look at that and you think about, well, that contact center person doesn't sleep, doesn't eat, doesn't take breaks, doesn't take a bio break. That contact center agent can run and run and run and still fulfill a high quality customer service experience for the customer. So when you fast forward 1.5 years, and you have some real behemoths behind conversational AI and developing solutions like this, that's going to be that to me, customer service obviously is, and maybe even sales to some degree, is going to be quite fascinating in the future, because you may or may not, from an ethical perspective, we'll leave that out for a moment, but you may or may not be talking to a real live person, right? In 3 years, right?
Here's the other thing that's exciting though, is like that technology is available to everybody equally. So, previous generations of these revolutionary technologies, it was like the enterprises could afford to build the infrastructure to do the thing. They had the advantage. It's almost turning on its head now, because actually a lot of the smaller organizations are more nimble and ready to accept that technology. It's all on demand. It's all accessible. So you might well find some of the innovation doesn't come from the behemoth enterprises first, because they're tying themselves in knots about do we, don't we, can we, can't we, and it'll be medium, kind of different sizes of business that are like, no, we're gonna jump in on this.
That's what I love about Teams, though, right? And what Microsoft is making available. It is so ubiquitous across the entire business communications sort of, realm. It is so ubiquitous. And yes, a small business, this is powerful stuff for a small business, a 20 user business, right? Having a real time 24-hour person to answer the calls and answer questions and schedule things. That's 24 hours a day. That's amazing for an SMB. Microsoft from a sales perspective has obviously the global marketplace, the Fortune 1000, Fortune 500, and then the mid market too. They've got layers and layers of success managers and sales organizations that touch those customers. But there's this massive market in the SMB. 70 or 80% of the businesses, right, sit in the SMB category, and having this available to them is pretty exciting. And I know they don't get it yet. I almost thought we should do a version of our podcast and do like a business consulting for technology, but do it as a podcast or as a reality show, because these businesses don't understand what's out there just yet. And I want to tell everybody, because it's so amazing if you're a business owner to take advantage of these technologies, right?
The newest show on TLC.
That's right, baby. That's right.
Yeah.
Coming at you live.
Teams you up or something.
All right. So Copilot's going to be exciting. There's a lot that we still have to digest to see where it goes. I know that when I asked Microsoft in a couple of shows back, their big take was for summarizing meetings and summarizing emails and getting the key topics and key points out of that. It's saving them tons of time. And again, productivity.
Summarizing is probably the strongest use case as well, because generating content is a thing. Obviously you can say, just generate me some ideas, but like the summarizing, you've already given it the authoritative document or transcript and you're saying boil it down. That's a really good use case.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, let's move past Copilot, because there's a lot to talk about that is exciting. The next thing I think we should chat about is really Teams Phone Mobile. I was at a show in New York. Tom, you were just at a show too, but I was at a show in New York. The Cafel Group, and
were you not speaking at the show, Rick? I heard you were the star guest. Yeah.
No, not a star guest, just one of the normies out there. But yes, I did have a little speaking engagement there, and I did hammer home how Microsoft Teams is doing an amazing job. And I've been in this business for 25 years, and I think it's the best thing since sliced bread. So it's exciting. So Teams Phone Mobile, though, it was huge at the show. There was actually a couple things, but Teams Phone Mobile is more applicable. And Brandon and I looked at a solution with Tango, Tom, and I think you've got some experience with Tango Networks.
Yep. Yeah. Tango have their Extend solutions. Yeah. So I'm fortunate to have hands on that, and I've got hands on the Teams Phone Mobile as well. So yeah, it's interesting. Two different approaches. So Teams Phone Mobile is you have to be a mobile carrier, an MNO. You directly integrate your core into Microsoft. So lots of very tight integration. Being that mobile networks, move very slowly for regulatory and just general telco reasons, like not fast to do, right? So there's 6 telcos. BT announced 2022. They've only just come to market 2023, like literally a year from announcement. In that model, your single cell number, so in the UK that'd be an 07 number, is your Teams number. So you make and receive calls on the Teams soft client on your laptop. That's the 07 number. You make and receive calls on your native mobile dialer. That's your 07 number. Tango Extend is slightly different and really interesting. That's an ability to kind of pair up your fixed line, landline, whatever we want to call it, your SIP number, with an eSIM, so a virtual SIM, for a secondary line on your mobile. So really interesting use case for things like, maybe first line, front line, like anywhere you need to gig work, anywhere you need to extend a business number to a cell phone. That looks like a good use case.
And Tom, for clarity's sake, there's also some feature differences, right, between the two, where like the extended version, or the like what Tango is doing, is more of kind of like SIP gateway, where you lose some of your feature functionality. Where my understanding is the true mobile, you still have some synchronized features where I can still kind of seamlessly transfer that call back.
Yeah, that's the big difference. You still you're 100% right. So with Extend, they're basically, if you think about it, for the techies, they're taking the SIP gateway and they're pairing an eSIM. They're doing a back-to-back agent. So the team thinks it's ringing the SIP gateway phone, and it's actually ringing the eSIM. So you do get the on-hook, off-hook presence because it knows you're in a call. You would get compliance recording because it's a Teams call going through the SIP gateway. But what you can do with Teams Phone Mobile is the soft client is more aware of what's going on. So you can press a button and essentially kind of pull back the Volti call and create a Teams call and repair it up all seamlessly. So like you can escalate from a mobile call to a data video call, which is a really slick demo to go from like I'm on my mobile to bring it into Teams.
It really. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go for it.
It really is. I mean, fixed mobile convergence has been a thing for a very long time, right? I mean, we've been trying to solve this since 2007 or 2008, when we had some wholesale customers of ours at 360 Networks that were building this, and they were literally deploying cell towers in an area where they were, where they were trying to do this. And it's a much more elegant solution. What I liked about Tango is that you do get to keep basically two personas on your mobile phone, right? So you've got your persona on your mobile phone, and you've got your physical line, your eSIM line here, and the escalation piece I really wanted to comment on, because when you go out of broadband territory, out of your 5G mobile area, and you still have CDMA or GSM connectivity for your actual call, and being able to transition your call from the Teams call to your, to your normal cell phone sort of line, that's, maybe it's your secondary line on your phone. That's really helpful. I mean, for people that travel or that are driving, they're well aware that you hit a gap in coverage, then your calls drop, right? If you're driving across Montana, as an example, Brandon, you'd probably know this really well.
Gosh, I wonder why.
Coverage is it's there's a stop and there's a start, there's a stop and there's a start in coverage, and so having the ability to have that sort of escalation to a normal sort of mobile call is pretty exciting for the frontline worker, right?
Well, I think there's use cases for both, right? The latter being, if I'm a truck driver and I'm constantly on the go, my traditional 2G, 3G connection is, probably going to be more reliable than my data connection, right? So maybe that Tango solution is a little better because it's just extending that call directly into the mobile network versus I start on data and now I need to escalate or de-escalate, however you want to look at that, to the mobile network. So I think there's good use cases for both solutions.
Yeah, and both need a carrier to be on that program. So with the Teams Phone Mobile, it would be a classic mobile carrier, and so there's 6. There's probably more coming, but like it's not going as fast as I thought it would, just because the integration time and the speed of that. With the Extend, it's Tango working with individual operators who might be direct routing or operator connect, and then they can light up that extensibility for their customers.
It's going to be interesting in the future. I wonder if small businesses that are mobile only are going to start to build in some team solutions. I think that's a great move by Microsoft.
That's what I've had this conversation actually. Like that seems like the better opportunity is actually like mobile first. Like I think businesses typically start on mobile these days, right? So the ability to bundle up Office 365 and a mobile solution, and at some point, I'm sure a channel model for this stuff will come from the carriers, so you'll have the ability to do that. You pair up with Verizon or EE or whoever it is, but being able to offer that complete solution and have that seamless integration could be really exciting.
The micro business, there you go. So I mean, that's an area I'm sure Microsoft is interested in penetrating, and this is Teams Phone Mobile seems to be a really good sort of spearhead into that space.
Definitely, yeah. It's a big focus for Microsoft to try and win that space, because they do, like you said at the top of the conversation, they do really well in the enterprise where they've got that customer success and account management coverage. They're still trying to kind of push through to that smaller mid-market where it's a great offer, it's amazing value, but as you said, there's a lot of education to do there, because it's not the simplest solution for like one click and you're done. There's all the licensing fun and understanding the features and functionality.
That's right. Well, if there's anyone out there listening, if you have questions on Copilot, if you have questions on Teams Phone Mobile, we're here to answer those. And then now, Tom, I think we talk about the new shared calling plans. Now, Brandon looked at it and it wasn't in his drop down just yet, but shared calling, let's walk through what that looks like.
Yeah, so that's GA as of, I think, yesterday, so relatively hot off the press. So this is the ability to share a single number over multiple users. So quite a classic model in telco land, right? So not everybody always has a DDI or a DID, a unique number to themselves. So in Teams, you always had to buy every single individual a unique number. That was the model. Microsoft have realized that in some countries, DDIs are really expensive. In some places, people just never did that historically, and they don't want to do it now. Also, there's a stack of E5 customers out there. So that's Microsoft's kind of higher tier license that already includes Teams Phone, that aren't really planning to light up Teams Phone, but because they could do shared calling now, they could take 5,000 users and share a single number and a single call plan over them. So they're like, well, why not? Like either as part of a transition journey, so they've already got a classic, they've got their Avaya or whatever, but now we can light up soft phone as a phase one, or potentially they just don't need a DDI, but they want to make the occasional voice call, give them that functionality.
I think where we see that playing a role is for our customer base and our customers is probably in the retail space, where you've got 25 phones, let's say on a retail floor, and everyone, it's just a shared line. Everyone picks up. There's not there's departments or extensions that they may have, but they didn't need an extra phone number there, and so. From a model perspective, I think you'll see carriers like us look at things and go, okay, that's if you've got 50 phones behind a single number, we'll have to find a way to create a revenue model for those.
Yeah, some kind of like the classic channel model that we all used to use. Like
exactly.
Maybe it's 10 channels.
So,
for those phone numbers.
Tom, I was actually going to respond to your chat this morning, and then I decided I'll put them on.
Just do it live on the show.
We'll do it live right here. That's right.
So question number one is, have you played with it yet?
So I haven't, but Pure IP have been on the tap. So I've actually Michael Lamontagne, who you guys probably know of as well. He's been playing with it and he's given me the inside track on it. He's doing a video for Empowering CloudNet actually.
Okay, yeah, I have started playing with it. It's obviously only PowerShell at the moment, at least from what I can see. But anyway, my thought process around how you solve for the channel based or the usage based. My curious question is, can a user have a dedicated number as well as leverage the shared calling plan at the same time? And if you don't know the answer, that's fine, because I think at least here in the US, our phone numbers are so dirt cheap. We could still come up with a strategy for a per user seat price that allows them to also leverage that share calling plan.
So what's the goal there? Because I guess the point of the shared calling, or the intent of the shared calling, is you don't have to have that cost of a per DDI. Because if you're going to give them a per DDI, could you not give them a DDI anyway and come up with a different commercial model?
Yeah, it's more about back-end reporting, I guess, in my mind. It's not so much physically that you can do it. It's just a curious, could you do it?
Right.
And that's what I want to go play around with, because it might open the door for some other ideas on how carriers solve for that shared calling pricing model.
It does open the door for that trunking though model. It's what it sounds like, right? It's like if you still have all these DIDs out there and the calling plan, you can just from a call path perspective, it seems like that might be the logical way. If you're just going to toss out DIDs because they're inexpensive and not have to buy individual calling plans, I think the calling plan piece is more more for us as a revenue opportunity, right? When we're putting calling plans out there, just like mobile phone plans or normal user plans, right? And if you've got DIDs and they're inexpensive enough, then it doesn't really sort of matter, right? You can just toss all the DIDs out, but how are you going to build that the revenue model there? And it seems like the natural progression would be the trunk model.
Yeah, that's why I was asking on the back chat we have a few of our telco friends who will talk together, is like, what's everyone going to do about the model? Because all the telcos have been pushing for per user, right? Software went per user, everyone wants per user and MRR, but customers, particularly customers are savvy that they've always had extensions and not had DIDs. They suddenly don't want to add that cost. So the potential to keep that channel model is really interesting. But I do know some telcos are very pro the per user model because they like that kind of getting away from usage. So it's interesting to see, and I think it's a good one to see which carriers are prepared to have that conversation and talk about how they meet the customer requirement.
And I like the channel model. I'm just trying to think of creative other ways that you might go solve for that. Yeah. And I assume Microsoft has a way, and again, I don't know because I haven't been able to play with it, but some mechanism that prevents a tenant, if you will, from just enabling shared calling on, say, an operator without the operator knowing.
So actually, that was a conversation I was having with on the Pure IP side. Was like, do we does the carrier have to endorse this capability, or can they just do it? Because I don't see like from a reporting point of view, you'd probably see it on the gateway because you'd see different SIP URIs. So it must come up differently. But I'm not sure if there's a way a carrier can say, no, you can't do it for this type of number, or how that works. Good question.
Yeah.
More to explore there.
Definitely more to
Always.
explore. All right, Tom. Well, the next topic is up to you. What is new and hot off the press, and something we should know about as we deliver services to customers in the enterprise space for Teams Phone?
Oh, well, here's one I'd like your opinion on. So Microsoft announced yesterday that they are launching Mesh in October. So Mesh is the name for their VR experience. So this is proper full-on immersive, Oculus headset, walk around the environment stuff. They announced like 2 years ago at Ignite, like everything was going to be Mesh. We were all going to live in VR. Meta, Facebook obviously rebranded, like the entire world, and then that all fell a bit flat. So I'm curious, what are your thoughts on that stuff?
Ooh, what's interesting, and I don't know how this works, but here's what I will say. I do envision a day where, if you're a business, you will have some sort of a mesh environment as or on your website, let's just say, right? So if I'm a consumer,
so like a virtual showroom type scenario.
like a virtual showroom, like if I wanted to walk into Dick's Sporting Goods, if I want to walk into Dick's Sporting Goods and I walk into Dick's Sporting Goods and it's the website and I choose my location.
You have a soft spot for Dick's Sporting Goods, Rick. I feel like whenever there's an example,
they're right next door. They're right next door.
Is that what it is?
It's pretty close. It's pretty close. So I walk. It's my only example that I can think of, because it's like it's retail, and retail.
Yeah, there's product on the floor.
There's product on the floor, and you wouldn't normally think about product on the floor as someone who's going to use a Microsoft tool,
and
right?
Let's ask Rick how picky he is about his water bottles.
Oh man, I've got like this is the viral mug right here. Like I got to swap to the viral mug.
The point being is, I remember we were talking about that mug, and he's like, this just doesn't work for my backpack or the gym or whatever. And so back to Dick's Sporting Good, they've got a whole wall of water bottles, right? So maybe in the VR experience, you can go in.
So that's it's more engaging than let me go to a picture and buy a picture and off of that. So if I'm going, maybe there's something a bit more personal, but if you go into a VR, a mesh solution like this, and you walk into a store, retail store, there's product on, and you find Joni or Lee or Erwin, running around the store floor, and you connect with them, and they're virtually connected here, and I'm going through this virtual shopping process. I can see where that's, in our future, and it seems so far out. And for the normal businesses out there, you guys are probably going, that's just dumb. And that's just crazy. But as you work towards engaging your customer experience becomes looking for the nirvana, right? For customer experience. And it is giving the best service that you can to every single person. So you get more of it. Right. And so being able to have that virtual shopping experience with someone that can help you instantly with product right there in their hands, let's just say, I think that's going to be the interesting sort of environment or interesting play. Other than that, I don't have a lot of good options for it. If you were a bank, as an example, and you had your not tellers, but mortgage brokers or somebody else lined up, and you walked into a virtual bank and you started your communication process with someone there, and maybe it's their avatar, maybe that sounds silly to you, but again, from an engagement perspective, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Well, but I also think that we're moving into a generation, if you will, that gamification is everything, right? Productivity comes around how much can I engage the worker and make it fun. So I think there's going to be companies who look at this mesh as a way, especially in remote work environments where you can virtually bring people together for meetings, events, whatever, but it has somewhat of a gamification to it. And the younger generation is going to be, they're already growing up with the VR headsets. They're playing games already today with it. So I think it just becomes a normal part of their now work day to be able to engage. I as we were talking, I was imagining, should we everything Teams Phone Live, should we make sure we're the first to get this VR experience so we can do our whatever that next show is in a VR mode instead of video mode. And
You should do it. You should do it. It's going to be preview in October. Get your headsets.
that's right. Do our show live. Only
Okay.
we'll be in the virtual world for it.
Let me. I'm going to touch on something because while in New York, there was a lot of chatter around third-party applications supporting Teams, and what you're starting to see in the marketplace now. And again, I don't know that it's super prevalent in the business environment just yet, but I feel like this is kind of the dam is holding all this stuff back right now. But there is third-party applications that are in and around Teams now that start to make Teams even more functional. Right, Teams Phone, as an example, is fantastic, but there's already third-party applications that provide more metrics, a more visually pleasing sort of environment over Teams Phone, so that you can see more contact center-esque type services. What's interesting is those applications, while the generational sort of kind of buyers are shifting towards a messaging application or towards more messaging, it seems like this is going to be just a really, really interesting time over the next 5 years, because I do see this shift where these third-party applications are going to start being more focused on omni-channel, and you're going to see a lot more engagement. So we were talking about the VR, walking in there just yet. While that seems so far off, this messaging stuff is about to really take hold, because I do see this generational change coming in for both buyers in organizations and the consumer, right? Growing up with the iPad, growing up with with the internet. And so this is going to be an interesting time, how they're all circulating around Teams, as a communications platform. And I feel like it's the right way to go.
Yeah, you got all the ACS stuff. So Microsoft are making it easier and easier to do clever extensibility, particularly in the B2C space, where you can, now you can have chat on your website, video on your website, WebRTC, and it's not super difficult for developers or partners to pull that together for you. So it's Teams on the business end, you're using Teams like you would any other day, but on the remote end, it's in the browser for the customer, and you can brand it up and have it all nice.
It's pretty exciting stuff. It really is. I mean, because businesses, again, I look for businesses. I'm kind of a business owner advocate, if you will, right? I love the idea of more productivity. I love the idea of better customer service and better customer experience. And then I love the idea of more sales, right? How do you drive more revenue as a small organization, let's just say? And so that's the stuff that really gets me excited, because you can see how that differentiates you from the tire shop down the road, let's just say, right? I use the tire shop all the time too, right? It's like if you're a tire shop and I want to know what a tire costs, I'm either going online. You've got a great tool like Discount Tire, not sponsored, but if I'm able to chat with someone instantly, go, hey, I've got this 69 Camaro and I'm looking to fatten up the tires behind. What can I fit on these 15-inch rims in the back, right? And someone helps me live. Someone helps me interactively. On a website, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, that you're a customer, aren't you? Then instantly, because you're not
Done.
searching around, hunting around. You get the advice you need. You're going to buy from there, 100%.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. So Mesh. So what are your thoughts on Mesh, Dom?
Well, so I'm kind of cynical about it. I think the one use case I can see is events, where like that's the use case where you want people to be fully engaged. They're doing a specific thing, and the nice thing about VR is, particularly within the headset mode, you can't be doing anything else. So one of the challenges with Teams and events is you are at the event, but you're also doing your email, you're also, chatting away. With VR, you're forced to engage. So I imagine we'll see a scenario where you think about big events and event tickets and travel and everything else, suddenly the headset seems like not that big an expense to have those people engaged in that, virtual world for a while. I don't see I'm in it all day, every day type scenario. But I think for special scenarios, or Brandon mentioned kind of, things like the onboarding, I'm bringing all the new people together just for the sake of some uniqueness and some engagement. Maybe there's a use case there.
That's interesting. The events thing is pretty interesting. There's obviously, there's a lot of one-to-many sales organizations out there, right? If you are doing these in-person events, or you are doing virtual events, and that's a different spin on the event space. But I can see how that would be really, really interesting, particularly if you're charging as an example. Here's, it's $250 a ticket. Do you want to engage in this event and be in it? That's pretty cool.
And then you can build part of the event is building the virtual space essentially. So, there's a discovery element there of like, I'm not just coming for content, like I'm moving around this virtual space, however it's designed.
Okay. All right. Well, what's next, Tom? You got Mesh. What else is interesting in the team space?
Yeah, so I don't know if you guys heard, but Microsoft just announced town halls as well. So this is the new variant of what was previously called live events. So town hall, as the name suggests, is about bringing your people together. So it's large events. So teams natively will go up to 1,000 people, but this is more the thousands and thousands, the green room, the streaming, the structured Q&A. Microsoft are putting more and more effort in with teams to have the different meeting scenarios. So you've got your classic collaborative meetings, you've got webinars, and now you've got town halls for those large in-house events, essentially.
Interesting.
Yeah, I could see, and I could see town hall being big, at least here in the US, being big more in the government space, like counties and cities where they're trying to pull in the constituent base to engage them, but who wants to drive to some event, or who wants to engage in very what I'll call archaic methods, when town hall could make it super convenient, right? I'm still at home in my sweatpants and I join and I can interact.
It's almost like an academic scenario. I mean, like if you think about it, like, is this a school environment, right? Where you're, if you're a town hall where you could potentially have virtual schools, whether it's polytech or classes. It seems like if you've got a leader and you've got a bunch of attendees, that would be, I could see how the corporate world would use that too. It just if you're onboarding, training people, training classes, that's pretty interesting, very interactive.
Yeah, and the thing that separates town hall away from like a Teams meeting is it uses all the ECDN technology. So if you're in, like we see a lot in the big, multinational companies, they'll bring together Europe for the European head of Europe to do an hour on what's going on in the markets and blah blah blah, and that can be thousands of people just in Europe. So they have that ability to all join and use ECDN to optimize the streaming, basically. So for those very, very large organizations, it's not unusual for meetings to break the thousands of people barrier. But traditionally, they've had a different platform for that. They've used something special. They bring in specialist companies to all the streaming, but now they can start to kind of bring that in-house.
My mind just starts to race now. Now I'm looking at it and thinking about, there's a lot of different applications for a town hall environment. So this is again, this is where I get excited about, there's so much that comes out, and we're on the leading edge of this, right? Where you're Tom, we're all connected to Microsoft in a lot of different ways. So we grab this information, and it's like, I feel like the normal business guy is, 5 years away from understanding what's happening.
And you forget that when you live this all day, every day. You're like, obviously everybody's aware of like, I can do this, I can do that. I think COVID accelerated everybody's understanding a bit. Like, we can all do meetings from anywhere now. We got that, but like, still the phone from anywhere thing is still trickling through, and like, it's there's a lot of education still to do.
A lot of education. It's a huge opportunity for people to really get the messaging right, get the get organizations to understand that what's Microsoft Forms. It's basic. Microsoft Forms is pretty interesting, makes sense, right? Here, fill out a form, answer a survey, whatever it may be. That's a really cool application, because you think about how you can ingest information and then what you can do with it once it's inside the ecosystem, right? I can, based on answers, if then I can go create a rule in Power Automate, let's say, to transfer this information to somewhere else. I can create a rule to deliver this and run the information against a database that I may have, and pull this information out, and then make a smart decision about where to send this information. There's so much that you can do with something like that. I get really excited about the normal business out there. They're just they're in for some amazing sort of technology coming out.
Yeah, so I'm going to turn the tables. What's up with you guys? What's new? What's exciting? I haven't had an update for a while, so let's do it live on the show.
Oh, there you go, Brandon. What's new with us, buddy?
Oh man, well, specific to Teams, obviously our focus is Teams Phone, right? So we're constantly, fielding, just questions and questions and questions, and it's what's intriguing to me is, there's never a day that we don't get asked something that is I think from a traditional telco perspective, you feel like it's very left field, right? You're just like, why did you just? The realization is, as we move through this Teams ecosystem, we're starting to realize that it's not enough to just be a voice, enabled service provider. We need to be able to work with these customers or these potential customers to answer. I'll give you an example. We have a potential customer that's wanting to see full on Microsoft Dynamics 365 integration with Teams.
Yeah.
They want to see the call logging. They want to see this. They want to see that. And essentially, they're not literally telling us, but they're essentially telling us that, hey, if you can't show us, see ya. And so, what's new with, at least from my perspective, is I don't think ever before in my tenure in the space have I ever been so sleeves rolled up, going 80 different directions trying to figure out, okay, how do I make this work with Teams? How do I make this? And like, I could get into very specific examples, but
no, I know what you mean.
Like the learning curve has gone hockey stick as well on me, because it's like, oh my goodness, it's no longer voice.
You know what, Brandon? I think you said you're exactly right, because we're traditional telco, right? Traditional telco. And we're starting to play in the Microsoft space, and we're getting really good at the Microsoft space. But what you feel now,
I'd say you're a bit more than beginners at the Microsoft space now. When you're on podcast 36 talking about Power Platform and Dynamics, I think you've crossed over now.
There you go. So what we're feeling now is this pull into more of a partner, more of a Microsoft partner that does telco versus a telco that does Microsoft. And the reason is really, really simple. Microsoft has made it very simple to have dial tone, to procure dial tone, right? You've got Teams for mobile coming out. You've got a direct routing. You've got Operator Connect. You've got other ways to calling plans. So you've got 5 different ways.
73 now OC providers.
There you go. You got a lot of different.
So you're on that list, but that's one of 73. So you've got to stand out still, haven't you?
So and the point there is that it's there's a lot that moves around it, but they're making voice an application. I think that's we've talked about voice being an application for years and years in our space. Voice is truly an application. And what you find from carriers is carriers have traditionally said, hey, here's the demarc. I used to, if I'm delivering PRIs in an old school telco environment, that demarcation is my ad tran that I put out there, or some device that I put out there, and not anything else, but I don't care about. Yeah. Okay, great. Now enter hosted communications, UCaaS. Okay, now I've extended that just a little bit. And I said, okay, I'm going to take care of the network just a little bit by putting my own firewall out there, maybe. And then I've got phones that I take care of, and maybe there's a soft phone on the PC, but I'm still not touching that PC. I'm still not touching the business. Whereas what I think you're finding now, and this is why earlier I mentioned some sort of a show that's more business consulting, because what you're finding now is that the full scope of services now starts at the consumer, and there's that CX component to the business, right? And then from the business, then back to the carrier and back to the service provider or professional services provider, whatever it may be. So that now is the universe that we start to find ourselves in, where you're starting at the customer's customer and coming up with solutions that you're addressing those things and back versus the demarcation of the facility, right? So big difference.
Yeah, and Rick, we touched on this last week when we were talking with Blair about the ubiquitous experience, and I think that's what we're both saying here is we're finding that what's new with us is it's about creating the ubiquitous experience for the customer. I think even what we're finding is our customers, even though Teams Phone is still relatively new, at least in the US space for many, I think we're even seeing the shift start to go from will Teams Phone actually work to, we know phone will work. Now tell us how we actually make our experience work, meaning solutions from A to Z. And that's largely where my day is spent with potential clients, is talking about that ubiquitous, how we as a provider can bring our solution into that.
That's where you have the opportunity to differentiate, but also the opportunity to deliver a lot more value to that customer than just here's our dial tone. Like you see, if you're into that, customer scenario, like how can we help you improve your business, then you're really adding significant value to those people, not just dial tone.
Here's something I thought of. This was a couple of days ago. I haven't even had a chance to share it with Brandon. What I thought would be interesting, and I think again, I feel like I'm an advocate for businesses. Okay, I'm a business owner myself, and so I think about this stuff, and I go, what would be nice is if I could do this. Okay, and Brandon and Tom, this is again, you're hearing it first here, so you can smack me if it's a dumb idea, but I feel like because Microsoft does have a handle in the enterprise space and the medium, the SME market or the mid market, I feel like this SMB, it's harder for them to acquire resources, and you'll find that partners are probably less inclined sometimes to work with a very small customer, right? They lack resources sometimes. They lack some technical sort of know-how and direction. And everyone, you'll find all of the vendors in the space are, hey, I want to focus on 250 users to 1,000 users. But what I thought would be interesting is some sort of a really simple onboarding platform to really walk a customer through buying Microsoft Teams phone and buying some of the, not all the components that you can attach to it from an ecosystem perspective. But if I was interested in buying Microsoft Teams phone, and this is where, as an example, G12 doesn't sell licenses today. But if you look at this model and I go to an organization that maybe doesn't have the right licensing, and I create a shopping experience for them where I've got 10 users and I don't have the right licenses. So I've got to, yes, please have my licenses on there. And here's my domain, and here's this and that, and create a real sort of engaging flow to onboard that 2 to 25 or 2 to 50 sort of customer that is interested in taking that self-service model, right? We've got applications now where you can go engage and turn it on, but you're starting at the Microsoft sort of starting point, right? I think we need to start from a clean sort of shopping experience to a business person. I need 5 phones. I need to add this. I need to add that.
Yeah, no, I think there is something in that. And I think it's taking all the Microsoft jargon away. Like you say, I have a new hire. They need a phone and computer office suite. Don't know what, oh, okay, well, you probably want E3 plus phone or E5 or small business premium or whatever it is. And here's why, and click these buttons and we'll make it happen for you. Like that. It's really, really interesting. It's a hard challenge to do because you have to decode everything that is Microsoft jargon into business language. But if you could make that flow work and keep it updated as Microsoft, shuffle things around, it's interesting.
That would be, I think, pretty cool because I don't think there's a lot of organizations that are building onboarding platforms for the SMB. Everyone's focused on serving that larger market.
So here's where I'd start if I was you guys, is that portal thing sounds amazing, but just start with writing the guide in English, like the PDF classic, like here's the Teams for small business for dummies, like here's what you need to know, because that's the content you're going to need, and that'd be an amazingly valuable asset for people to be like, here's the couple of pages on helping you understand it. I think that'd be really good.
Yep. Very good. All right. So I didn't take any lashes. That's a pretty.
Well, hang on. Brandon didn't get to vote yet. He might.
Yeah, Brandon, go.
You want my honest opinion?
Make it happen, right?
Yeah. All I'm hearing is work.
Yeah. You can build a website, right?
Yeah, you can do it. It's easy.
That's easy. That's easy.
No, I was thinking that if you're going to go build all that, it's not just. It could be for anybody. It could be for existing customers. It could be for big customers that as they onboard, say for operator.
That'd be interesting.
Here's
and how it works for pharmacies. Here's how it works for doctors. Here's how it works for vets. That'd be interesting.
And you could let's be honest. A lot of companies out there aren't in the startup mode, meaning they're not just going out to procure Microsoft for the first time. Sure, they exist, but I think you take it a step further, and as you bring in that client, and you work through the pairing of, however you want to do it from a API perspective, you can automate the qualification process for that customer to say, okay, customer, you got 1,000 users. We see that, 50 of them have these licenses. The others have these licenses, and then take them through this, what I call the wizard, the journey of answer these questions. We'll build the model for you. And now here's your options. What would you like to do? And you could automate that from A to Z. And Very powerful.
What a cool thing that would be, right? So that people that now is how you're guiding the masses to join this
Yeah, and it
ecosystem.
has to be a scale model, doesn't it? Because that's the only way it makes sense. So it's content and web driven. That's a really good idea.
Exactly.
And,
All right.
and then think about having it built into, now I'm a company that's trying to assign a service. Doesn't have to be a phone service. It could be anything in Microsoft, and the ability to do real-time analytics on that to tell the customer, you can't do this because you didn't purchase this license, right? And here's the license.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
proof of concept next week on the show, Brandon.
Yeah,
Right?
well,
there you go.
I'm going to use
Copilot.
Copilot. Hey, I need you to write
it.
I need you to write this for me real fast.
I did see on LinkedIn, I did see someone that's had a sketch drawing on a whiteboard, and they ingested the image into not Copilot, but into OpenAI, and it created the code for the picture.
Yeah,
did you see that?
As well? Yeah, you can draw the website you want, and then someone's written the prompt to say, write the code to match this picture.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. All right, what's next? What else do you have, Tom?
The other one that's a bit niche techy, but it'd be interesting to get your opinion on is analog telephony adapters. So we can now register them direct to SIP gateway in Teams. So it's been in tap/preview forever, but now it's all GA. So you can take those audio codes ATAs and connect your lift phone or your common areas or wherever you've got the classic, analog phones.
Yeah, here's my 2 cents. Is I've actually had the Cisco 192 sitting at my place here for months now, and I noticed when it went from preview to GA, because I would never get like reliable service. Like if I was making test calls or anything, my analog phone would ring sometimes it wouldn't. Sometimes I'd try to answer, it wouldn't answer. And then it went GA, and it's like, since that day, that thing has 100% reliability, period. I have had 0 issues. We have customers that are putting ATAs in for overhead paging, for other use cases. So
door access, lift phones.
Yep.
Huge move for Microsoft to put that into GA, because it kind of comes back around and helps close that solution gap that a lot of customers may go, I'm not going to go with Teams because I don't have the solution and I don't want to manage 2 solutions.
It is. It's a big piece. It's been a big gap, and we solve it, and we had solved it in different ways prior to that. But now having it included in Teams, I think that's pretty exciting, because the overhead paging piece, that's a big one. The overhead pager, right? In fact, I've got an algo sitting right here, right?
Algo have got all their gear certified for SIP gateway now as well. So
and that's a really important piece for the overhead paging solution, right? So it's going to be, I think, as we dive more and more into the kind of legacy systems and pull them into the Teams environment, I think you're going to see the larger organizations that are traditionally facilities. And when I say facilities based, I mean just that a hospital as an example, right? Not necessarily all knowledge workers, but those are the organizations that are now able to say yes to Microsoft Teams and bring them in.
But I'll give you one hiccup we discovered with the ATA with Microsoft, that there's easy ways to solve this problem, but Microsoft should probably take a step back and think about it. And that's how you activate the analog ATA into the Microsoft ecosystem. You have to have an analog phone where you punch in the
punch in the number.
So we have a customer that has a legacy, I'll call it TDM overhead paging, right? It has the RJ11 jack and everything, and they don't have it. Everything else is IP in their network. So we get that ATA for them. They plug it in. No way to activate the ATA, because it's the overhead paging only receives a call. It can't make a call. There's no keypad.
About that. So
we're like, of course, felt bad because we had tell the customer, well, here's an Amazon link. You can go buy an analog phone for $10.
I used to carry around those classic, one of those classic white phones, and then I had this little what was it called? I bought it in the US actually. It was basically an analog phone that was about this big. That was just a dialer and an earbud. And that was my analog test kit. So we're gonna go back to those days, carrying an analog phone around.
But that's the one, if people are listening to this part of the conversation about, maybe their business need, just know that you'll have to have some phone to activate that ATA.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Okay. I think everyone, we've hit that time. We've been on here. It doesn't even seem like it. We blew through a bunch of topics, and we hit top of the hour here. Tom, thank you very much for all the time you spend coming on our show just about every quarter now at this point.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Well done on getting to 36. That's some hardcore consistency. I'm impressed. It's a really good show, and happy to be on. And again, appreciate the support with you guys. Thank you for that.
Absolutely. We're going to have to figure out what's next. There's a 2-week period. I think I'm off to Paris for 2 weeks, October 6th through the 23rd or something like that. So there'll be a couple of shows in there I may have to do right from Paris or on vacation. We'll see what that looks like, because we haven't missed one yet, and we're not going to.
Good back.
Very good. Tom, go ahead, Brendan.
No, I was going to say, no pressure while you're in Paris.
None at all. None at all. Okay, Tom, have your evening. Thank you very much. It's the weekend for you, so cheers. Hopefully you got something nice poured next to you, and until next time, thank you very much.
Cheers, guys. Talk soon.
Appreciate it, Tom.